Yeah, Bitcoin is the thing to own. It's that slingshot wealth where the longer the people with a lot of money take to accept that it is the thing, the more chance you end up in a state of a straight slingshot to 1 million, since we're decreasing in the remaining supply, remaining emitted supply, which results in those with the capital being in the position for that capital to be redefined in terms of what it gets. If all the world has shifted to transacting on a Bitcoin standard using the Bitcoin network, then if you have a lot of money, you get redefined in the sense that it becomes such a geopolitical important tool that you have to give validity to the network. As in that once Bitcoin slingshots to whatever price, it's like you have to now it's not that you have to acknowledge it, but you're being forced to give the network liquidity at that price. You know what I mean? So if one Bitcoin is 10 million, it's like with a altcoin, or just with any of these meme coins, you hear stories of people, their altcoin goes up, their meme coins goes up, and now they have 1 billion. But if no trading volume occurs at that level, it's worth nothing. It means nothing. You need to be able to sell, and there needs to be a buyer, or there needs to be someone, some bid at that price for you to claim. Say you've got your portfolio says you have 1 billion. There needs to be 1 billion of buying occurring at that price level in order for you to exit. Okay. Now your altcoin can say that it's worth X amount, but no one is forced to acknowledge that. The only way you can realize that is if we realize it for you by buying, and you sell to us. You sell your meme coin to us. Okay, but since no one is forced, that number on the screen, that value on the screen means nothing. But in the case of Bitcoin, it's a case of it's slingshotting to that price, and in order for you to conduct some important transaction, your 300 billion, Mr. Buffett's 300 billion, it has to interact with the Bitcoin network at that price, basically realizing the wealth of others. If you wanted to if your Bitcoin is worth 10 million or 1 billion, it's like of Buffett's 300 billion, you get a piece of, because you can choose to sell whilst he is forced to buy at that price. It's either the price of Bitcoin is going up or there's liquidity at that level. Okay. So Bitcoin is that pristine asset where you're in a position to redefine the wealth of others. You now have a portion of that Buffett's 300 billion. But it's a case of, you've redefined someone else. You've redefined players who thought that they were the biggest, or who were comfortable being the richest. And it's always a case of once you get the million, once you get the billion, suddenly it's not worth nothing. You know what I mean? Suddenly 1 million, Bitcoin might get you 1 million, but 1 million is not worth nothing. In that case, if that's the case, then it still makes sense to own Bitcoin. It still makes sense because if 1 million doesn't get you anything, then I guess 10 million would have to get you something, or 100 million would have to get you something. Because that sort of wealth or that power should still exist within the system. And that's what you should be going after, the purchasing power. Okay, so the case of 1 million not being worth anything, but you need to even think about that. If Bitcoin is 1 million, but 1 million doesn't get anything because suddenly you've won the game, no longer you are having to work and give your time to the system as a slave, but suddenly 1 million doesn't buy anything. You would have to think, what would your money be worth if you didn't have Bitcoin? You're 10,000. If you bought one Bitcoin for 100,000 and now it's worth 1 million, but 1 million isn't worth anything now, then what would your 100,000 be worth? So Bitcoin, anyway, is a pristine asset for this sudden renegotiation as to what is the denomination unit for the world's value. Because people don't want to acknowledge Bitcoin, but Bitcoin will always be there to say, okay, whatever it is divided by 21 million and it's fixed. So wherever the world suddenly wants to redefine where wealth is, how much you need, Bitcoin will be there. Bitcoin will be there. There's no renegotiations. There's no redefinition. There's no Bretton Woods. There's nothing without Bitcoin being there to say, hey, wherever you're redefining, is divided by 21 million. Okay, we get a portion of that. Well, we get access to that represented as 21 million. Really and truly, you're in a delusion, thinking you're doing the renegotiations. You're renegotiating with Bitcoin. Yeah, we're deciding how much. We're deciding the portion. Well, we're deciding. It's like the fiat system or the non-Bitcoin system is thinking it's making the rules. It's thinking it's making the decision. It doesn't really matter. It's all divided by 21 million. Okay, and all 21 million gets access to that. Wherever sudden, if you want to change the game so that only you and your buddies are the billionaires, trillionaires, again, it's priced in Bitcoin. It's priced in the 21 million Bitcoin, the 2.1 quadrillion sats. Hopefully that makes sense. Bitcoin is your negotiating network that is going to be at the negotiation table when all these monetary renegotiations occur. And it's going to reveal that those systems are just trying to keep the masses poor, keep the masses impoverished, and have the system somehow have this wealth existing somewhere represented by its denomination unit. And then it's going to try and deny that, as above is not the same as below. As in, what the masses hold of the denomination, it has nothing to do with the basic overall wealth of the system. $1 billion is worth something, but amongst the masses who hold the dollars, suddenly we have different rules for the measurement of that, because we don't want them to have that representative power within the denomination unit. So you're gonna discover that there's rules for D but not for me with the fiat system. The fiat system is intent. You must be a slave to the system. You must be impoverished to the system. You must lose economic power, economic freedom, economic consciousness to actively liberate yourself and use the money as you would want to. So hopefully, that is likely what Bitcoin is going to reveal. Amen.